Recently, we started learning about how concurrency works in C++, how you can have data races if you're using multiple threads, and how you might want to use a mutex to prevent a data race from happening. This actually takes us to the next problem that multi-threaded code can have, which is a deadlock. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. What is a deadlock, and what are some simple strategies that you can use to try to prevent a deadlock? Now, what is a deadlock? Let's say that you've got two mutexes and you've got two functions. Now, inside of these functions, you're trying to lock the mutex. Now, we're going to use the lock guard because it automatically unlocks them at the end, but this can still lead to a deadlock. And how does that happen? Well, suppose you've got a function that locks mutex 1 and then it locks mutex 2. And suppose in another function, you end up having a different order. You've got the same increment function, but this time around, you've got lock 2 first, and then you've got lock 1, which locks mutex 1. So if you've got two separate threads running them, the mutexes are going to be locked in a circular dependency. Let's say thread 1 locks the first mutex. Say that at that moment, the CPU decides to run thread 2 in this line of code. And now thread 2 locks mutex 2. Now let's say that thread 2 tries to continue going. Well, what happens? It's waiting for lock 1. The mutex is not available. And then you go to thread 1. And then thread 1 says, okay, well, I'm going to go to this line of code. Oh, wait, I'm going to wait for mutex 2. So it's going to pause right here because mutex 2 is locked by thread 2, and then the CPU might say, okay, well, let's go to the other thread. The other thread is right here, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to wait for mutex 1, and then it goes back to this one and it says, well, I'm going to wait for mutex 2. So that is the case of the deadlock. Let's just see how this runs if we run the code. So I'm just going to do a make with 0 optimizations, and here you go. The answer should be 2000, but we ended up having a deadlock right around 320. I'm going to try it again, and this time around it stopped at 170. And so now the question becomes, what do we do? How do we prevent deadlocks? Well, there are a couple of ways to do this, and the first way would be to not use multiple mutexes. Well, if you just use one mutex, I mean, this code can be simplified. This function, there's no need for it to have two mutexes because it's a very simple function. And essentially just use one mutex. That will automatically solve our problem, because if we just had one mutex like this, where we just locked it, then this would work correctly, right? Let's save this and check. And here you go. I've ran the program, and yeah, it correctly goes to 2000. The other way to ensure that you don't have a deadlock is to call the mutexes in the same order. And this time around, it will still work. And let's think about the logic real quick. Thread 1 locks mutex 1, and then you swap to thread 2. Thread 2 is waiting for mutex 1, so it can't do anything, so it goes back to thread 1. Thread 1 goes to this line. Okay, mutex 2. Okay, let's say it goes back to thread 2. Well, thread 2 is still on this line, it's still waiting for mutex 1. And of course, once these two are completed, let's say that before coming to this line, we go to thread 2. Now thread 2 will be the one locking mutex 1. And let's say that for example's sake, it goes back to thread 1. Well, thread 1 is going to be stuck waiting right here because mutex 1 is locked. And so then let's say that this goes to this line, it can lock mutex 2 because that is available. And thread 1 is still going to be stuck waiting here. If you carry on with that logic, what you're going to get is that locking the mutexes in the exact same order in multiple functions will still work. And let's just test that out real quick. And there you go. I've saved the file and I've remade the program, and yeah, it works. There is another way that you can prevent a deadlock, and that is to ensure that a lock is not nested. So in this case, we're locking mutex 2, and then we're immediately unlocking it after incrementing the counter. Same goes for lock 1. And the same thing is happening in this function in increment 1, where we are locking the first mutex and then unlocking it, and then we're locking the second mutex and unlocking it. So in these situations, we are not nesting the locks, and that also prevents having deadlock. So let's just run this code and check it out. So if I run this code, you'll see that the result is correctly set to 4000. And now just to clarify, the reason that happens is because I wanted to increment the counter twice in each iteration of the loop just to perform some sort of action within the mutex lock and unlock. So in this case, the answer 4000 is actually correct. And of course, another way to prevent having a deadlock is to not use locks at all and use an atomic integer, for example. Because it's atomic, it locks at the hardware level, and so you're not going to have any sort of deadlock in this case as well. But what I want to say about these 4 strategies is that these 4 strategies require us to rework our code, or rather use our brain to remember that we can have some sort of deadlock. If we had code as simple as this, it might be easy to notice that we might need to refactor this, but in some situations it might not be possible. And obviously it would be great if, say, something like VS Code had an extension that could warn me that I'm using the locks in a different order in 2 separate functions, something like that. But I don't know if that's something that is actually possible. Because of all these reasons, there are more optimal ways to prevent deadlocks, and we'll talk about those in the next video. But yeah, if you made it this far, hit the like button and consider subscribing for more random C++ deep dives just like this. And if you want to sponsor the channel, just send me an email. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.